Good evening. The vote is in, and now in just 2 days we'll know who's going to rule the country. Well, it's only Uttar Pradesh, but you know what they say about those that win that vast state. Today's voting marks the end of a campaign that lasted almost 3 months. And while we saw the Prime Minister, his wingman Amit Shah, Behenji, and the newly paired Akhilesh, Yadav and Rahul Gandhi pay extra attention to just 40 out of the 403 seats around Varanasi, the turnout was rather modest. Let's just look at those turnout figures. The average turnout for the last phase turned out to be just about 60%. That's also the average polling this year for all 7 phases in Uttar Pradesh, and only marginally better than the turnout last time round at 59%. That means the highest turnout this time was 64%, and that was only in the first phase. So what does this mean for all parties involved? Aren't the voters enthused enough? Over the next half hour, we'll take you through the highlights of this exciting election, from the name calling to the new stars who have emerged. We'll also bring you a special report from Manipur, which in comparison has had a turnout of 86%. But first, let me just take you to all our experts who are joining us today. Professor Sudha Pai, who's worked a lot on Uttar Pradesh, joins us. She was a professor in JNU. From the Samajwadi Party, we have Juhi Singh. We hope to be joined by the BJP spokesperson Sambit Patra. And here in studio with me, part of the social media team that's been working for the Bahujan Samaj Party, we have Devashish Jararia. So first of all, I just want to go across to Professor Sudha Pai. Professor Pai, what do you make of the turnout? Traditionally, we've always heard that if there is a vote for change, if there is something happening, something rather drastic new happening, then we should see very high turnouts. But we haven't seen it this time round, apart from the first phase, of course.
Well, people don't seem to be as enthused as it seems. Because I think there isn't the kind of enthusiasm that there was in 2014, although the voting figures seem to be more or less the same or slightly higher in some cases. But despite the hard-hitting campaign, the long campaign, it has stopped at 60%. So I would say that the voter is still thinking about it and is not as enthusiastic as the politicians seem. It's the politicians who have a large amount at stake, but the voters probably are beginning to feel that it makes no difference who comes to power. And that may be absolutely true for Eastern UP, which is the poorest part of the state. And I think people there, the Muslim weavers, the Dalits, must be feeling that no matter who comes to power, after all these road shows and so on, and all the promises made of cleaning the Ganga and of more employment, nothing very much has actually happened on the ground. So that may be one of the reasons why there is, I think it is the most important reason why there hasn't been that much of a turnout. It's been more a show of politicians than I think the voters.
More a show of politicians, and that's certainly true of the last phase. If one saw, it was only 40 seats, but we saw the Prime Minister make 2 appearances there in his own constituency itself. Sambit Patra, we've seen the BJP lead a very high voltage campaign. Wouldn't you say then that aren't you disappointed? Because many have said, when you spoke to other experts or people who were watching the election, they said that whenever there is a high turnout, it's always been great news for the BJP. So then are you disappointed?
Not at all. I mean, the issue over here is, as far as the high voltage election campaign is concerned, election in a democracy is considered to be one of the biggest celebrations of democracy. So naturally, every political party should have a high voltage campaign. And thankfully, we have a Prime Minister. Thankfully, we have a party president who are hardworking. And hard work is never a demerit. Hard work is always a merit. Rather than the opposition party questioning us, I would like to ask the Congress party as to where are Sonia Gandhi ji and where is Priyanka Gandhi ji? Gandhi. In fact, after one road show, Sonia Gandhi is almost not visible in the complete UP elections. So hard-working Prime Minister and a hard-working party president can never be a demerit for a party. In fact, we are lucky to have them. The Congress should be answering as to why they are not visible anywhere.
Well, that's actually an interesting talking point, and that leads us, I want to take that we don't have anyone from the Congress, but their alliance partners, Samajwadi Party is here represented by Juhi Singh. Juhi Singh, how would you respond to that? Because what is significant is that initially we heard that Priyanka Gandhi was one of the people who was called the architect of this alliance between your party and the Congress party. She was supposed to campaign quite extensively, if not outside the pocket boroughs, but this time we only saw her come out one day. Has that been a letdown?
We never planned on a common rally with Priyanka Gandhi. The Chief Minister was always carrying out his meetings and his addresses to the public, and our MP Dimple Yadav also carried about more than 40 rallies. There were other leaders who were working for the Samajwadi Party. The common road shows, or the common meetings which were planned with Rahul Gandhi, the Vice President of Congress, did take place. But Priyanka Gandhi was never, I don't know who said she was the architect of the alliance. The alliance was talked with the Vice President and our Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav, and that's how it was cemented.
Said that.
And that was yes. So I mean, it is really up to the Congress where she would campaign and why she would campaign. So they would be the best people to answer that. We carried on our campaign, and there has been a marginal rise in the voting percentage. It was a very long drawn election also. So maybe that's why the last phase saw not so much of a rise in the voting percentage, but I think we are happy with our campaign, and the people of UP have also gone out and voted for whoever they liked and whose policies they agreed with, and they are going to give the power to rule UP to the mandate, I think a perfect mandate, a majority mandate to that party.
So Devashish, that's what I want to ask you. We heard both Juhi Singh and Samit Patra talk there and talking about a very long drawn out campaign. I know that because while I reported a lot on the volunteers and all the kind of, for the first time what we saw, if this election also marked a new trend, one of the new trends that we saw was for BSP for the first time to make its social media presence felt. And you're part of that social media team which the party represents. If we talk about the high profile campaign, well, then there were a lot of other stars which came out from the BJP. You had Prime Minister going twice over there. They had all the cabinet ministers going there. Didn't that impact the kind of soul warrior-like campaign that Behenji led?
I don't think so that it is going to impact BSP in perspective of the vote share or voting pattern, because the vote share we get, the BSP gets, is generally the people from the marginal sections. Like this time we have playing a huge role with the Muslims community, with the EBC, with the OBC, with the Dalits also. So these communities are socially very much, politically very much aware of their rights. So, Behenji is directly connected to these people with the help of the supporters, with the help of the youth. You can see that in the most parts of the UP, the volunteers are the youth guys. The age of the 35-40 years guys have been given the job of coordinators. So all these guys are reaching towards these voters, interacting with them personally. All these candidates are going, it's like BSP has finalized.
Did you see, as someone who is works for the party, did you see Behenji also change her campaign a bit? For instance, some people remarked that, and we saw that sometimes as well, that usually she reads out from a speech, but many times she improvised as well, and we saw her directly taking on the Prime Minister at several instances.
See, it's a strategy. See, when she reads out, it means she wants to cover a lot parts of these sections, that she wants to give a message. See, every single voter of BSP hears what she says. So she wants to deliver, she is teaching her voters. This is first thing. Second thing, when such something dynamic happens, she has to deal it with also, because she is the only face of the party. Although many people behind the work is behind the curtains are working for them, but Behenji is the sole representative of party, and people really believes her what she says. So I think so it's a part of strategy that she's reading out, because she wants to teach her voters, and deliberately attacking Narendra Modi ji also, because it's a general talk that Mayawati ji is the biggest threat for the Narendra Modi in upcoming 2019 elections.
Samit, you want to react to that?
Now, I believe there's a famous saying that when you are central to every discourse, then remember that you are powerful. I mean, I've seen in this UP election, and you would agree with me that way back in 2012 or 2007 election, Bharatiya Janata Party was not even in the fray. I mean, like, well, we got 47 seats, but we were number 3. Suddenly, all the talks in Uttar Pradesh, in fact in the national politics, is all about Bharatiya Janata Party. And right now the BSP spokesperson pointing fingers towards us, saying that, well, Mayawati ji was reading out of a piece of paper because for her the biggest threat was Narendra Modi. And ask the Samajwadi Party spokesperson, she would also say the same thing, that biggest threat is Narendra Modi and the Bharatiya Janata Party. When all these mainstream political parties in a state feel that Bharatiya Janata Party is the main contender, that means we are surging ahead. And secondly, as far as this question which is oft cropping up, that are we nervous, and that's the reason as to why the Prime Minister is campaigning to this extent. I would say, look, as far as nervousness is concerned, I named this this alliance between the Congress Party and the Samajwadi Party as the alliance of nervousness. Because if the Samajwadi Party would have really worked on the ground as it had claimed in rhetorics, then there was no reason for them to need the crutches of Congress Party. They would have surged ahead on their own, driving the cycle on their own. That they added a weight on the career of the cycle in form of Rahul Gandhi means that there is some amount of nervousness.